I know there's a lot of worry associated with that. And I want folks to know I see you and we hear you. And that's why today we want to announce a plan to deal with that. We know that people are dealing with high food prices because corporate grocery stores are ripping you up and we know that people are struggling with the high cost of groceries because corporate grocery stores are ripping you off and driving up the cost of food. And so today I'm announcing our plan that we would impose an emergency cap on food prices to stop them from ripping you off. We want to fight back and defend Canadians. Canadians believe in taking care of each other, having each other's backs. New Democrats have your back. We know that these corporate grocery stores have ripped us off. They've jacked up the price of bread. They also most recently were found jacking up the price of meat, using the weight of the packaging in addition to the weight of the meat, which is wrong. And they've been doing that systemically. So we know they've been ripping us off and we have to fight back. But what about the other parties? What would Mark Carney do? Well, Mark Carney has shown you that he's not in it for you. When he became prime minister, the first thing that he did was a tax cut for millionaires. And when asked about relief for people, he thought that GST relief was a bad idea. It shows you his values. Tax cut for millionaires, no problem. Relief for working class folks, for middle class folks, no, not a good idea. And what about Pierre Poilievre? Well, we've got a track record that he has consistently voted against any step that we push forward to actually take on the greed of corporate grocery stores that are ripping you off. He voted against a price cap. He voted against measures to hold them accountable. And we know why. Because his executive, the body that governs the Conservative Party, is made up of lobbyists, and prominent of those lobbyists are corporate grocery store lobbyists. So he's not going to take them on. He's not going to stop them. So when you are wondering how you're going to afford your groceries, and you're wondering who's going to stand up for me and my family so I can afford my groceries, that's us. That's New Democrats. And if you're also worried at a time when there's so much uncertainty with Donald Trump, who's going to fight for me and my family when it comes to the negotiations that happen? We know that for the other parties, working folks, everyday families are not the priority. For us, whenever there's any negotiation, we're going to fight back to say that people, workers, they should not be on that table. Our health care, the things that we hold dear, the things that we value should not be on that negotiating table. Our pensions, the services that we have for people will not be on that negotiating table if you elect a New Democrat. So if you're in this election wondering who's going to fight for you, that's New Democrats. Here in Ottawa Centre, that's Joe Hardin. And across this country, it's New Democrats are going to fight for you. On est ici à Parkdale Food Center.
We're here at Parkdale Food Center, and I'd like to thank the entire team at the Food Center for the hard work they do. I'd also like to thank our candidate here in Ottawa Centre, Joel Hardin. I'd like to thank him for being our candidate, and if you want someone who will fight for you in Ottawa Centre, that's Joel Centre. Hardin. We're here to discuss grocery prices. I know that for many people, despite all of the threats from Donald Trump and the trade war, the key issue for them is the cost of living. And one of those issues is the cost of groceries. I know that for many people, grocery shopping is a big worry. The fact that you can't do groceries and buy the food that you need. And we know why we're in this situation. It's because large grocery corporations are ripping people off, and I'm tired of them ripping you off. So I'm announcing my plan today. The reason why you're in a difficult situation today when grocery shopping is because big grocery corporations are ripping you off. And so we're going to be putting a cap on essential groceries. That means we're going to stop these big corporations from taking advantage of you. This will help to reduce the impact of these companies on your life and will help protect people. We think that it's an important value for us as New Democrats and Canadians, the fact that we take care of one another, and that's what we're doing with this announcement. What's the approach of the other parties? Mark Carney has already shown that he favors millionaires over you and your family. And in fact, he has done that. One of the first things that he did once he became prime minister was to cut taxes for millionaires. And when he was asked for his opinion about removing the GST on essential items, he said it was a bad idea. So for him, it's a bad idea to give a hand to the working class and the middle class, but it's a good idea to give a gift to millionaires, and that shows us his values. He's not there for you. And Pierre Poilievre has resisted opposing at every step the grocery companies that are ripping you off. When we put forward our bill on a grocery cap, he voted against measures to fight back against these corporations. And that's because his team includes lobbyists for these big grocery companies, and so he's fighting for them, not for you and your family. In these difficult times, if you want someone who will really fight for you to bring down the cost of living, that's the New Democrats. In particular, with the threats from Donald Trump and negotiations, if you ask who will be there to defend your values, your family, your pension and health care in these negotiations, that's us, the NDP. If you want someone who will fight for you, vote NDP. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. On va passer maintenant à la période de questions des médias. We will now take the media questions. It's going to be one question, one follow-up. Ça va être une question et une relance. On va commencer avec Juliane Lapointe, Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh.
Good morning, Mr. Singh.
Question pour vous. Mark Carney croit que le gouvernement
Mark Carney believes that the federal government should intervene on Bill 96 in the Supreme Court. What's your opinion on that? That bill protects the French language, and we think it's important to protect the French language in Quebec. So we won't say at this moment the reason for that. It's an issue in Quebec, and it's about protecting language in Quebec. But do you think the government should intervene? In our opinion, there's no reason to intervene. You've spoken a lot this week about housing and groceries. It seems like it's in response to the tariff threats.
Votre message pour freiner les tarifs.
Your message to stop these tariffs. What is that?
Pour vous asseoir
Do you have what you need to sit down with Donald Trump and to stand up to him? And do you have a strong enough message to show him that Canada doesn't want tariffs, not just reactions? Yes, I do have the capacity to do that. For two reasons. One is who I am fighting for. If you're afraid for your job, if you're in the middle class, the working class, and you're worried about your family and that life will become more difficult, that the cost of living will go up, we are here for you. We're not here to defend billionaires and big corporations. We're here to defend your interests. So in any negotiations or conversations with Donald Trump, I will be there to defend your interests, and that's my priority, and I've shown that several times. But with anyone else, and right now it's Mr. Carney who's speaking with Mr. Trump, I'm on Team Canada. I want us to succeed. I want us to win for workers and remove the tariffs. But it's also important to talk about the impact of tariffs, and that's why I'm talking about the cost of living. People's biggest fear is that tariffs will drive up the cost of living, and it's already too high. So that's why we've been talking about housing and groceries, because those are the two key issues we hear when we're talking to people and they're talking about cost of living. Groceries are expensive, and getting affordable housing is hard.
Yeah, of course, I've got what it takes to stand up to Donald Trump. I know what it takes to stand up to a bully. I've fought back against bullies my whole life. And most importantly, though, if you're someone that's worried about how the tariffs are going to impact you and your family, how they're going to impact working people, how they're going to impact the cost of living for working folks, New Democrats have shown you, I have shown you, I'm committed to fighting for you. I'm not interested in defending the profits of billionaires or CEOs of big corporations. I'm interested in how we can defend working folks. And so in those negotiations, that's my priority. But right now, well, Mark Carney is the person that's was chosen as prime minister. He's the one that's having these discussions. I'm on Team Canada. I want us to win. I want us to be able to remove these tariffs. I want Canadians to have peace of mind. And so I'm on Team Canada to fight back. But the difference between me and the other leaders is that I'm focused on you in a way that no one else can say they are. And the reason why we've been talking about housing and groceries is because one of the big worries that people have around the trade war, around the tariff threats, is that it's going to make life, which is already so expensive, even more expensive. And so that's why we've talked about solutions to make homes more affordable by by banning big corporations from buying up the affordable homes. That's why today we're talking about how to make groceries more affordable by putting in a price cap on food essentials. These are bold plans to put people first and to make life more affordable.
Thank you. Now, David Turton, CBC.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Good morning. We're a week into this campaign, and you've laid out very clearly your policy priorities when it comes to supporting workers in the face of tariffs, support for renters, and now grocery prices. But I'm wondering if you could today tell us what success looks like politically in your campaign. I know you're probably going to give me a policy answer, but I'm really looking for what does success look like for you politically? Are you still running to be Prime Minister?
Absolutely. I want folks to know they've got a real choice in this election. That if you want someone that's going to fight for you, that's us. If you want someone that's going to take on corporate greed in the grocery stores, take on corporate landlords, that's us. If you want someone that's got a real plan to make life more affordable, that's New Democrats. And I've shown you what we can do when we are fighting for you in Ottawa. We deliver dental care, pharmacare, protections for workers, real changes in your lives. Imagine what could happen if you elect more of us. I want folks to have someone fighting for them. I want the folks of Ottawa Centre to have Joel Harden fighting for them. I know that you are going to be better off, you're going to be better served if a New Democrat is fighting for you. I'm running to become Prime Minister because I want a Prime Minister that actually fights for working class folks, that fights for everyday families, that fights for the middle class every single day in office. And that's going to be me and my team. Absolument. Je me présente pour devenir le Premier ministre.
Absolutely, I'm running to be Prime Minister. That's because I know what the benefit is of having New Democrats fight for you. I've seen that in the last few years. With only 25 MPs, we've been able to deliver pharmacare. And now 3 provinces have been receiving free medications such as contraceptives and medication for diabetes. And that's thanks to our efforts. We've put in place protections for workers, and we've put in place dental care that is treating millions of people across this country. So I've seen the impact of having New Democrats in Ottawa. I think that everyone deserves to have someone who will fight for you, and you deserve to have an NDP MP. And here in Ottawa Centre, you deserve an MP like Joel Harden who will fight for you. So absolutely, I think that Canadians deserve a Prime Minister who will fight for people, not for billionaires.
Okay, just my second question here, Mr. Singh. A lot of Canadians don't see you as being the next Prime Minister. They see this as a race between the Conservatives and the Liberals. What do you want to tell those voters? What is your message to them, especially maybe voters who might not want to see another majority government, whether it's Conservative, whether it's Liberal? What's your message to those voters, especially those voters who maybe are concerned about a potential Conservative government, maybe voters in a riding like Ottawa Centre?
Vote New Democrat. That's my message to you. Vote New Democrat. And you're better off when you vote New Democrat. And we can show you. You sent 25 of us to Ottawa. I'm honored by that. I thank you for that. And what did you get in return? Millions of people got dental care. Millions of people are going to have their medication covered. Millions of people's lives are going to be concretely better off because you voted for New Democrats. So I would say if you want someone there in Ottawa fighting for you, that's only going to fight for you and your family, that's got a clear sense of convictions around who they're in it for, that's us. That's New Democrats. So wherever you live, if you want someone that's going to fight for you, truly fight for you, send a New Democrat to fight for you and see the difference it's going to make in your life and the life of Canadians. We have seen that already. I encourage you to do that again.
Toria Isri, Global News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Mr. Carney, after his phone call with Trump, said Canada would negotiate a new security and economic agreement after the election. Do you think it's appropriate for Mr. Carney to be making post-election plans?
Well, again, when it comes to, and I've said this a couple times, when it comes to fighting back against Donald Trump, I'm on a Team Canada approach. I want us to be united, that no matter what the makeup of Parliament, we all should stand together to fight back against Donald Trump in a united way. And whatever the results are, Donald Trump should know that all Canadian leaders want us to be free and independent and proud of who we are, and that we're ready to fight back. I am concerned, though, that Donald Trump negotiated the last agreement himself, signed it, and now is ignoring it. And I think it shows you that we've got to actually take a different approach to Donald Trump. We have to show strength. We should say, listen, there's no reason to renegotiate something when the date of expiry isn't for another year. And so I would think we've got to show strength. We've got to fight back. And that's what New Democrats are proposing.
Mr. Poilievre headed to British Columbia before you did. I know you're heading there later, but you're facing more competition from both the Conservatives and the Liberals in your home province. What is your strategy to deal with that?
Again, just to let Canadians know what's at stake in this election. We've got a very important election, probably one of the most important in our lives. And we got real serious challenges up against Canadians, up against our country. And in those challenges, I ask you, who do you really want there in Ottawa fighting for you? Do you want someone that has shown you that their priority is millionaires, not working class folks, not everyday folks? That's Mark Carney. He's shown that with his tax cuts for millionaires and said that GST relief was a bad idea. Do you want someone like Pierre Poilievre, who will cut the things that you hold dear and it'll cost you more? He wants to cut healthcare, cut pensions, cut the things that you need. It's going to cost you more, all to give big tax breaks to his billionaire buddies. Or do you want New Democrats? Folks are going to fight for you and your family, fight to defend our healthcare and make it stronger, make it better, fight to defend our pensions and make them better, fight to bring down the cost of groceries like we're talking about today with the price cap. I think the choice is clear. New Democrats have your back. If you want someone that's got your back, vote for a New Democrat.
Rachel Ayolo, CTV.
Good morning, Mr. Singh. Today, the Conservatives are going after workers' votes again with tax breaks for traveling workers and ending tax write-offs on luxury jets. They continue to have support from unions. Just wondering, what can you do to punch through to those worker votes that once were pretty solidly orange and now might be tempted by some of Poilievre's proposals?
I want folks to remember who Poilievre is. He has spent his career, since he's a career politician, fighting for the billionaires. That is what he has done. He voted against federal minimum wage increases, not once, but multiple times. He voted against workers being able to fight for fair wages multiple times. He ordered workers back to work multiple times. He's undermined the rights of workers. He's undermined the rights of unions again and again. When he got first elected, which was a long time ago as a career politician, he said very proudly that he was the first federally elected MP to push for right-to-work laws in Canada. We all know right-to-work laws are anti-union, anti-worker laws that are in many of the red states in the United States. He has made it his career to fight against unions and working people. He is no friend of yours. And I would say to you, when you're in a fight is when you know you've got a real friend. When workers were in a fight, when they were on the picket lines, who showed up? Did Pierre Poilievre ever show up to a picket line? No, he's never going to show up to a picket line because that's not who he is. But when workers were in a fight and workers were on one side and big bosses were on the other side, New Democrats showed up, I showed up. Oui, bien sûr. Donc, Pierre Poilievre
has shown throughout his career that he is someone who has fought against the interests of workers and unions and has fought for big companies. Throughout his long career, and he's a career politician, he has shown those values. He voted against minimum wage at the federal level, and he voted against workers' rights to fight back against big corporations.
député
and he bragged that he was the first MP to bring laws that are like U.S. laws that are against unions in Canada. So everything he has done shows he's working against workers. He's not someone on your side. And finally, you know your true friends when you're in a fight. Every time workers were on strike over the last few years, it was the NDP and myself as leader who was standing there with workers. Pierre Poilievre has never met with workers during a strike because he's not really your friend.
You're heading to British Columbia later this afternoon. Your party currently holds half of its seats in that province, but some polls are suggesting support there might be cratering for the NDP. So what is your strategy heading into BC this week to try to win back BC voters?
We're going to let BC voters know how important this election is and how important the choice is in front of them. And really the question that I want folks to think about is, who is in it for you? Who is making decisions in your best interest every single day? We've shown you again and again, Mark Carney has a career of making lots of money for big corporations, but at the cost of everyday folks. When he was at Brookfield, they made a strategic decision as a company that they were going to find affordable rentals. And they said, you know what, if people are only paying $1,000 a month rental, we could jack that up to triple that. We can make way more money off them. So they targeted affordable homes, affordable buildings, bought them, and jacked up rent as a strategic decision. Now that's the guy who wants to run as prime minister saying that he's going to fix the housing crisis. It's not believable. The person that contributed to the problem can't now somehow fix the problem. Pierre Poilievre is going to cut the things you need. We know what Conservatives do. They cut and it costs you, and they do that just to give more tax breaks to their billionaire buddies. And so for New Democrats, our commitment is you. We want to strengthen healthcare, make sure you can find a family doctor. We want to strengthen pensions. We're going to bring down the price of groceries by bringing in an emergency price cap. We want to lower the cost of homes. We have got your back.
Mark Ramsey.
In French, please, on BC.
Le message est simple, Colombie-Britannique.
Yes, my message is simple to BC. This is such an important election, and you have a choice in this election. Mark Carney and the Liberals, they fight for things like Mark Carney's old company, Pierre Poilievre, who will cut the services you need and give big gifts to his billionaire friends, or the NDP, who will fight for you. The question is simple. Who is on your side? And the answer is the NDP.
Ramsey, Toronto Star.
Good morning, Mr. Singh and Mr. Hardin. Pierre Poilievre disclosed his investments this week, and they include ETFs that have shares of Brookfield in them. Given that both of you have criticized Mark Carney's record with Brookfield and Brookfield's corporate practices, can you say definitively that you are not invested in Brookfield in any way?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I have complied with all the rules as a member of parliament. All my disclosures are public. The problem is Mark Carney has not disclosed his interests. And the problem with that is that he's using a loophole, the fact that he's not right now a member of parliament. All members of parliament have to disclose their interests. And someone that's running for prime minister, you would think, would also disclose his interests so people can see, does he have ongoing interest in Brookfield or not? I'm also putting forward clear approaches that would attack Brookfield's way of making money. So my interest is in you and your families. I'm proposing a ban on large corporations like Brookfield buying up affordable homes. My question is, would Mark Carney support something like that? And I think he wouldn't, because that's not his values. And he also worked for this company just a couple months ago. And he hasn't disclosed his interests. And it's impacting the decisions he might make, and Canadians ought to know.
I'll clarify that your investments are not public because we're in an election right now, but I'll ask your office for those. But my second question is, since Justin Trudeau left, polls now show that you're the least popular leader. Do you think NDP candidates in close ridings are better off campaigning on their own local accomplishments and brand than on the party's national brand, which includes yourself?
I think folks should campaign on both. I want folks to show what they've done for their community. I want folks to be proud of their track record of fighting for their communities. And I want folks to point out that New Democrats have delivered for Canadians, that we have delivered concrete things that have made their lives better. I want people to know that New Democrats fought for and delivered dental care, that we fought for and delivered pharmacare, that we fought for and delivered anti-SCAB legislation. These are things that New Democrats delivered, that I delivered as leader and we delivered as a team, that people should know about. And so when we say we're going to cap the price of groceries, believe us, we've delivered before. When I say I'm going to ban corporations from buying up affordable homes, believe us, because we've delivered. We are committed to you, and we've shown you that we can fight for you with our track record.
Merci beaucoup. Prochaine question, Lise Denis, Le Droit.
Oui, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Pendant cette campagne, vous insistez
Good morning.
sur les gains que vous avez faits pour
You've insisted a lot in the campaign on your gains in pharmacare and dental care. After the elections, would you join with the Liberals to pass new programs such as
Je me
those?
présente comme Premier ministre.
Well, I'm putting myself forward as Prime Minister, and that's my goal.
Je ne veux pas discuter des potentiels quand je me
So
présente
I
pour
don't really
devenir
want
Prime
to
Ministre.
discuss
Mais je peux
potentials
dire
if I don't
clairement
become a
qu'il
Prime
n'y a
Minister,
n'importe
but I
quoi,
can clearly
les
say
résultats,
that regardless
le
of
nombre
what
de
the
sièges,
outcome is and the number of
une
seats,
partie néo-démocrate avec un chef comme moi,
the NDP,
on va
with
jamais
a leader
appuyer
such as
un
myself,
Premier
we
ministre
will
Pierre
never
Poilievre.
support
And
a
so I'm
Prime
presenting
Minister
myself
who
as
is
a
Pierre
Prime Minister.
Poilievre.
I'm running to become Prime Minister, and I don't want to presuppose the outcome of the election. But I can tell you one thing very clearly, that New Democrats, myself as leader, will never support Pierre Poilievre as Prime Minister. That will never happen.
Puis sinon, les libéraux ne semblent pas faire de plateforme pour le Québec.
The Liberals don't seem to have a platform for Quebec. Do you have any reaction
On
to
va
that?
présenter notre plateforme pour le Québec comme on fait
We will
dans
be
chaque
presenting our
élection.
platform for Quebec as we
Et
do with
pour les
every
Québécois,
election.
Vous devez savoir qu'on est là pour
Quebecers
vous.
should know
On a
we
montré
are
comment
here for you.
réussir à livrer la marchandise pour vous. Et les soins dentaires, c'est un
We'll show
exemple
you
de
that we
quelque chose
deliver the
qui
goods
aide
for
le
you,
Québec.
and dental care is something that has been good for
Ce qui est
Quebec.
décevant, c'est le fait que le
What's
Bloc se
disappointing is
présente
the
comme
fact that the
des
Bloc is
défendeurs de
presenting
Québec,
itself
mais
as
ils
the
ont fait le
defenders of
contraire.
Quebecers, but
Ils ont
they've
voté
done the
contre les
opposite.
mesures comme
They
les
voted
soins
against
dentaires,
measures such as
malgré le
dental
fait que
care.
ça aide les Québécois.
And despite the fact that that helps Quebecers,
Blanchet s'est prononcé qu'il va appuyer un
Mr.
Premier
Blanchet
ministre,
has said that
Pierre
he will
Poilievre.
support
Je dis que
Pierre
jamais,
Poilievre as
malgré le
Prime
fait que
Minister,
Pierre
and I'm
Poilievre
saying I
va
never will,
couper les choses
despite
qui
the
sont
fact
chères
that
aux
Pierre
Québécois et
Poilievre
Québécoises.
will cut
Donc,
things
à mon
that
avis,
are important to
Blanchet
Quebecers.
présente,
So in my opinion,
des
Mr.
valeurs
Blanchet
qui
is
ne
presenting
ressemblent pas aux
and showing
Québécois et
values
Québécoises.
that
Le fait qu'il a voté contre des
are
mesures
not
qui
those
aident
of
les Québécois,
Quebecers, and he's
et le fait
against
qu'il
measures
va
that are helping
appuyer quelqu'un comme
Quebecers,
Pierre Poilievre,
and he will
qui
support
va
someone like
couper
Pierre
les
Poilievre,
valeurs
who
et les
will
programmes
cut
qui sont chers aux
the
Québécois.
values and programs that are near and
Next
dear to
question, last
Quebecers.
question, David Bixter, Canadian Press.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Singh, Mr. Hardin. Yeah, I just want to talk about the policy this morning. We've seen before when the government tries to negotiate deals with companies, mostly looking at Meta and the Online News Act right now. Companies will say, this isn't economical for us. They'll take it away. If they're looking at price caps for groceries right now, I see you've got some oranges in the basket there. What happens in a situation where we see we negotiate price caps for, let's just use oranges as an example. We outgrow them in Canada. A company says it's not economical for us to have oranges anymore. They stop stocking oranges. What would you do in that situation?
Well, we've got actually a couple of other countries that have figured this out. So we would look at what France has done and what Greece has done. Both of them have effectively brought in price controls. And those price controls, in the example of France, has dropped food inflation by 15%. In the case of Greece, they were able to drop food prices by 15%. So we've seen price controls work effectively in other countries. We would use that example. And we would also focus on the items that would have the best impact on people's food purchases. So we look at items that are made in Canada or items that the grocers have their own labels where they put their own label on top of it and they control the prices of it. There are ways to achieve the outcomes that we want. Other countries have done it. There's other sectors where price controls have brought down prices. We are seeing more and more in the case of corporate grocery stores, when they colluded to jack up the price of our bread, when they colluded to jack up the price of meat, they are ripping us off. And so corporate grocery stores need someone that's going to fight back and defend you and your family, not allow them to continue to rip you off. And that's what our price cap's about, fighting back to protect you and your family.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the start of the week for a second question. We were campaigning on the idea of using federally owned land to build affordable housing. Excuse me. There's been some concern in the First Nations communities about what this could potentially mean for Crown land and taking away land that they do have treaty rights to use to make way for housing that would no longer be available to them. How do you square that affordability pitch with the government of Canada's treaty obligations?
Well, I think we always have to respect our treaty obligations. We're talking about land that is already in federal hands that's not being sold off. The question around land back or the question about Indigenous communities having the first right of refusal often involves when lands are being sold off. This is land that we want to keep in federal government's hand and keep it affordable. Unlike the plans of the Liberals and the Conservatives, who are both proposing to sell off Crown land and sell it to basically the highest bidder. And in the case of the Liberals, they want most of it to be unaffordable. And in the case of the Conservatives, they want all of it to be marketed and unaffordable. Our plan is that we keep the land, that it remains owned by the public, and that 100% of the homes built on it are affordable. That's a very different plan and different approach, one that continues to respect treaty rights, which we think is fundamental in the way we move forward as a nation.
Thank you very much. That concludes the press conference. Merci beaucoup. Ceci conclut la conférence de presse. Bonne journée.
Merci. Thank you.